We're walking down the road where rapper XXXTentacion used to live.
This is in Parkland, Florida. This is actually where he was living when he was murdered. Not far at all from here. We're going to take you to the site where the murder happened. We're going to also go pay our respects at his grave, as well as checking out the house. And we cordially invite you to come along.
Come along.
X, whose real name was Jose Onfroy, bought this 6,000 square feet, 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom house in December of 2017 for $1,400,000. He didn't move in right away after buying it, though, instead choosing to do a large renovation project on the property, including putting in this security fence all the way around the property. Neighbors say construction crews had been working hard at the property for a while. And they say X had just moved in not too long before he was killed. They say he was quiet, but was nice to other people in the neighborhood. X was also in the process of buying a much nicer, bigger, and more expensive house than this one for his mom Cleopatra Bernard, who likes to be called Cleo, in a gated community near here. That is a 15,000 square feet, 6-bedroom, 9-bath home that Cleo ended up closing on a couple months after her son died, for $3,400,000. He loved his mom and was very protective of her, even though he never really lived with her while he was growing up. Cleo was only 17 or 18 when she had him, and she didn't have that much money, so she sent him away to live with other people, including family members and friends. His half-sister Ariana Onfroy once said, she never remembered him living with his mom. His father, Dwayne, may have been around some when X was young, but by the time X was 10, his father was sent to prison for 9 years on various drug charges. Not having parents around growing up was hard on X, as it would be on anyone in that situation. He said he would purposely pick fights with other kids at school because he knew then his mom would get in touch with him, even if it ended up being her yelling at him. At least he was able to talk to her. Eventually, he was thrown out of his middle school because of all the fighting, and sent to live at a place for troubled youth that was called Sheridan Family House Ministries. Finally, when he was 12, he went to live with his grandmother, Colette Jones. Sadly, it seems, X was still trying to chase his mom to get her attention and to get her to love him all the way up until the day he died, which would explain why he was buying her a house that was costing him about 2.5 times what his own house costs. After leaving here on the day of his murder, X headed to a Bank of America location to withdraw $50,000 in all $100 bills in bank wrappers. After getting the money, he tucked it into a small gray checkered Louis Vuitton sling bag.
We've now driven about 15 minutes away from where his former mansion was.
This is a place called RIVA Motorsports, an upscale motorsports shop that sells, looks like boats and motorcycles and various other things like that, four-wheelers and stuff like that. This is where the murder occurred. He was here with his uncle, and he was shopping for apparently some sort of motorcycle. At 3:30 in the afternoon on Monday, June 18th, 2018, X went into the motorsports store. Around that time, a black Dodge Journey SUV with 4 people inside parked in the parking lot area. 2 men, who police later said were 22-year-old Robert Allen along with 22-year-old Dedrick Williams, got out of the SUV and headed into the store just 2 minutes later at 3:32. Surveillance video from that day shows the men walking near X while he was talking to a salesman inside the store. The men ended up buying 2 black masks, then they left. They got back in the SUV and headed out the back gate. X continued shopping for a while longer. Then he left the store at 3:55, at which point he walked back to his BMW i8 that was parked in this parking lot. When X got here to the back gate, as he was trying to leave the parking lot area, the men in the SUV blocked his exit, parking right in the road in front of him, right in this area here. It was then, when the other 2 men from the Dodge SUV got out, each carrying guns, and came up to X's window. These 2 were later identified by police to be 22-year-old Michael Boatwright, along with 20-year-old Trayvon Newsom. The murder was all caught on the store's video surveillance. Pretty much as soon as the men got to the driver's side door, they started demanding the Louis Vuitton bag that was, of course, filled with cash, as well as a chain off of X's neck. X's uncle, who was in the passenger seat, quickly jumped out and ran off. One of the men pointed his gun at the uncle, but then quickly turned his attention back to X. There was a fight between the men over the bag with the money and the necklace. The video shows both of the men reaching into X's car and fighting with him. Eventually, Newsom runs around to the other side of the car and actually enters the car through the passenger door. Apparently, it was around this time when police say Boatwright started shooting, hitting X multiple times as Newsom is able to get the bag from him, and they both flee back to their SUV. At that point, apparent getaway driver Williams hits the gas, and off the group of four goes, without a care in the world. They've just left a young man to die in the seat of his car. All four of the suspects have since been arrested, with Williams being the first caught after police traced him based on one of the salesmen from the store, along with checking his Instagram feed and noticing he posted a bunch of pictures holding wads of cash and wearing bright orange sandals, which looked to be the same pair one of the men who went into the store was wearing on the surveillance footage. We are now at the Gardens of Boca Raton Cemetery, which is X's final resting place, where he has been laid to rest above ground inside a beautiful private mausoleum. X packed a lot of craziness into his short 20 years on Earth. He was actually facing 15 felony charges having to do with a 2016 domestic violence incident that occurred between him and his girlfriend at the time. 7 of those felony charges were from the incident itself, where his girlfriend claimed he headbutted her, punched her, stomped on her, and attacked her in various other ways. In December of 2017, he was arrested again for witness tampering and harassment. It was at that time when prosecutors added on 8 more felony charges. He had many other run-ins with the law in previous years, including getting 6 years of probation in August of 2016 when he was charged with armed home invasion, robbery, and aggravated battery with a firearm. We're not going to go through all the issues he had in his past, but we will point out his friends and family say he had been turning things around in the months before his death. He had a terrible temper, but he was starting to walk away most of the time when he was angry and giving himself a chance to cool down a bit instead of fighting with the people he was with. His music career was on fire when he died. He had just signed a $10 million album deal shortly before his death. It would have been interesting to see what direction X would have gone if he would have been given more time on Earth. He could have been a tremendous example for others and a story of redemption and forgiveness. Sadly, 4 evil, despicable men took his life away from him long before it ever should have ended. So we'll never know what he would be doing now or would have done in the future. And to think these guys did this for some cash, a necklace, and a Louis Vuitton bag. Now they themselves are facing jail time and maybe even death sentences. X's father, Dwayne Onfroy, says he wants the 2 gunmen to get the death penalty and the other 2 to get life in prison. The case is still working its way through the court system at this point in time. And then this is just beautiful. They have X's picture emblazoned in the window of the mausoleum. It's actually on both sides. We'll walk around here to the back and see the small palm trees and bushes, and just a gorgeous cemetery here.